Junkanoo is loud, it's over the top, and that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a way for you to demonstrate your talent, your skills. So Junkanoo traditionally comes out of the Bahamas. It came out of other places too, Bermuda, Jamaica, and the Carolinas. But it survived, I guess, at its best in the Bahamas. There's many reasons for that. But regardless, if you go to the Bahamas, you will see the biggest display of Junkanoo than any other place in the world. So Junkanoo has its roots from our African ancestry through slavery, right? The slave masters would give the slaves an opportunity to rejuvenate themselves, and this would be at the end of the year, typically Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day, which is the day after Christmas. And this was a way to get them going and to get them ready for the upcoming year. And keep in mind, the Bahamas is an island nation, so it would have been a little bit more difficult for slaves to escape than it would have been when you compare it to the U.S. All right, so I think there may have been a little bit more freedom. And then the books say that slavery wasn't as harsh as it was in other places when you compare it to how it was in the Bahamas. So anyway, the slaves were given an opportunity to have a little bit of freedom at the end of the year. And what they did was they would make costumes as close as they could to their motherland. They would make instruments, and they would perform in front of the slave masters, right? And traditionally they would wear a mask to hide their identity. So the mask was always a big part of Junkanoo. Recently that's gone away because now everybody wants you to see their face. They want you to see them in the big beautiful costume. They want you to know that they are who they are. So that's the kind of the beginning stages of Junkanoo. And what happened was once emancipation took place, the slaves settled into free villages. Nassau, which is the capital city of New Providence, which is the capital of the Bahamas, the northern coast is where Nassau Harbor is, and there's a hill or ridge that runs from east to west. And right over that hill, there's several neighborhoods, several free, very, very historic neighborhoods right over the hill, and that's what we call it. We call it over the hill. So primarily those were freed slaves that lived over the hill. So they would perform in these areas, and they would make their way to the main street, which is Bay Street, where the harbor is, where all the cruise ships come in, and that's where you would see the majority of tourists on the island. As tourism started to be seen as a viable means of economic growth, the government decided to organize Junkanoo, and the way they did that was they started to introduce prizes for best costume, best music, best individual, best group. And corporate sponsors started to get on board. So then at that point, money started to get introduced into Junkanoo, and then it started to become more elaborate. So right now, Junkanoo, the parade itself, is, the biggest showcase is held twice a year, right? It's held Boxing Day. Actually, it starts now 11 p.m. Christmas night. It's downtown Nassau, and it goes until about 2 p.m. Boxing Day. So we start at 11 Christmas night. We go until 2 p.m. on the 26th. And then a week later, we turn around, all new costumes, all new themes, and then we go New Year's morning. We start at 2 a.m. on New Year's morning, once everybody gets out of church. We get started at 2, and then we go to about 2 p.m. New Year's Day. So it's about a 12 to 13-hour parade. So that's where Junkanoo is right now, but now in terms of its evolution. But you do Junkanoo throughout the year as well, all right? So you may go to a funeral, you would see a Junkanoo parade similar to what you may see in New Orleans with Mardi Gras. You may see Junkanoo at weddings, definitely at the hotels as a tourist attraction. So Junkanoo is year-round, and what's happening now is it's become a multi-million-dollar industry. So that's sort of a slight or brief history of Junkanoo. And Junkanoo is made up of three, three main components: music, dance, and costume. So the music is made up of drums, and the drum section, there are different drums in the drum section. There's the first drum, or lead drum, which we call a tum-tum, which is this drum right here. And then there's a bass drum. The other component of the music section is the cowbell. And the cowbell is just that. It's a cowbell with handles on it. Back in the day, there used to be a single cowbell. And again, as I mentioned earlier, Junkanoo was something where you want to be over the top, you want to be loud. So we started to put two bells together. The other component now is, the other major component of the music section is the brass section, which is made up of all of the common brass instruments. That was introduced somewhere in the 70s, but is now a very big part of Junkanoo. And then we have bugle, bicycle horns, whistles. So that all makes up the music section. The costumes are primarily made from cardboard. All right, cardboard, wire, contact cement is the main ingredient. And we use the wire on the cardboard to help to form or to make the shapes of the costumes. So if you go to a Junkanoo parade, what you would see is you would see a theme. So every group has a theme. So for instance, a group may have a theme, Florida Folklife, and they may demonstrate all the different cultures that are demonstrated here at the festival. So there's nothing that you could imagine that you can't build with cardboard. And then we decorate it with rhinestones and all types of different materials, feathers, jewels, beads. And the dance section, the biggest component of the dance section is choreographed dancing, which is primarily made up of females. Some of the major groups, which are usually 600-700 strong, they may have 3 to 4 sections of choreographed dancers. And usually the choreographed dancers, dance sections are maybe about 40 per section. So you'll have 3 sections of 40, so about 120, 150. Then you have a section where it's just free dances, okay? So where you have on smaller costumes and you stay within a section, but you're allowed to do whatever dance it is that you want to do. So if a particular group is coming out with, let's say, an Oriental theme, maybe China, you would see people, they would try to implement dances from different cultures while keeping some of the traditional dances that are Bahamian. So again, Junkanoo main components: music, dance, and costume. What I'll do now is I'll get a little bit into the music. We don't have a full group, so we demonstrate some of the instruments. I'll introduce Bambi as she comes in. So Bambi is one of our dancers. So today she's on stilts. So let's go through the music a little bit first, and then we'll get into the grand finale with Bambi.